1 hour later, we're ready to paint again. We went ahead and masked our tails. One of the things that's a little tricky on this one, you get in a little closer here, is on these tails, how specific the paint demarcation line is on the back end here. So that will be kind of fun to do that. On our forward fuselage, we've matched the real jet lines using blue tack and then tape to cover it up. Also, while I was studying the pictures, realized the nose cone is actually gloss white while the rest of the airplane is insignia white, so a little bit different color there. We'll deal with that later on, but that's all ready to go. And then it was like third or fourth time we're working on the main fuselage, but just did our demarcation lines on both sides there. So I kind of like doing this in stages instead of trying to do it all at once, because it lets me do the masking a little bit more specifically. And let's get it on. Let's paint some stuff. Let's see what happens. All right, paint cup still a 0.2 and has some F's, light gold gray. I decided to go full strength on this one now, actually. I just like the way I think the color's coming through a little bit better. So let's go ahead and fill in our areas. I'm going to come back a little bit later with this and put some more paint on the body, but that's going to be after the fact. So let's get the stuff done that we needed to get done right up front. All right, now let's get into our fuselage here. And what I'm doing with this is I'm painting a little bit down towards the demarcation line. And then when I come to the cockpit area, because I don't want to get any overspray in there and I have the tape kind of overlapping, I'm going to go ahead and spray up into that area. And that should prevent, I'm using old tape so it's just not terribly sticky here. And once the canopy of the clear stuff's on, we'll have to come back and do a little bit more with that later, but that's fine. I think that's good. I think that is our this side. Now we're gonna work over to the other side. Oh, tape got in the way. And that looks pretty gosh darn nice. And after an hour plus of masking and a little bit of painting, it's time to remove our masks for good. Maybe for evil, you never know. I would not recommend using this blue tape on any paint, but if it's just taping on paper or on other tape, then it's a cheap, easy way to go. It's just normal blue painter's tape, low stick. All right, we got all that off. We got our demarcation lines. We got our wavy lines. I love it. It looks good. Now for our forward fuselage here, take a look in the cockpit. Just make sure we didn't get any overspray. Looks good. Again, we just take this off nice and easy. Oh, look at that. That's beautiful. It's probably a little bit harder demarcation line than the real thing is. I may think about that overnight. We'll see. May need to come back and soften it just a touch, but for now, I think it looks great. I'm happy we didn't get any overspray. It's not as smooth back here as I would like the lines to be, just in terms of the waviness. Let's see how the front side, the left side did. I like that. That one's actually nicer. With blue tack, one of the things you do kind of sometimes have to do is come back. There's just this little bit of residual, and I just kind of dab and roll it off. We're going to buff this down with some 8 or 10,000 grit polishing cloths as well, so that should handle anything else that's on there. It looks good. Just even looking at it, I'm not real happy with kind of the way that these lines, even though they're wavy, there's just kind of some things there. I think I'm going to grab the Pro Convoy, the 771 airbrush, and just real fine line, just kind of blur that a little bit, just so it's not so hard, and just to make these not quite waves. See here, this is great. I love this wavy line pattern looks great, but on here there's a kind of a jaggedness to it that I don't like, so we'll come back and fix that next. In the meantime, it's time to go it's either time to day drink or have some cookies, one or the other. See ya. All right, we finished the painting. It's time to remove the masks and take off the tape here first. Let's see where we're going to start our vinyl at. Trying not to use anything sharp to mark up the paint. And here we go. All right, nice and smooth. So there you go. There are two wings. All right, another little detail we're going to add today. Insignia white for the body, gloss white for the nose radome. So we're going to change this up. What I've done now is just mask this. I just used straight Tamiya tape. The only little parts in kind of here required multiple pieces, but the straight lines worked great. So that's masked off. We're going to have the anti-glare black coming down here, and the front half's going to be radome. So I really only have to concentrate on the back half of this. What I've got again is SMS white. This should be gloss. Loaded up in the airbrush. Trickier to see where the paint's going on just because it's already got white. So what some people might do is prime this sucker in gray first, but I am just painting it white. And there you go. A gloss white radome. Hopefully it'll be noticeable from the insignia. You can see insignia white here has a little bit more of a cream, slight gray, where white is just pure white. So I'm hoping that translates through on here. So far so good. Just from the naked eye I can see a little bit of it. We're gonna give it one or two more coats just to make sure and move on to the next thing. I thought I'd just share a little bit about what I'm doing with this one. Nose cone wise, so it's painted gloss white and there's hair on there already. So what I'm doing, you can see here we got the nose cone radome in the front. The Tamiya kit doesn't have a panel line demarcation. Not that there's a panel line there at all. It's a solid. The radome is solid. There's actually no line. But if you come and look at the Hasegawa part, Hasegawa did do a line, which makes it much nicer to paint, but we can't use that. So what I've done is I've gotten some Tamiya compound curve tape and gone over it. Trying to align it is really tough. The line actually is parallel to the radome back end. So trying to do that and then keep that the whole way around is tough. So this is just leftover. So now what I'm going to just do is take regular old Tamiya tape and we'll just tape off the back. So that is easy enough. We'll just tape around the whole thing. And because it doesn't go around compound curves, we just have to fill in the little bit of holes here. All right. Just kind of make that down. And we are ready to paint a nose cone. And here we are. The time has come to do one of the hardest things for me, and that is going to be the gloss coat. We're going to do the initial gloss coat. And to start with that, we're going to use, I want to use lacquer. So I'm going to have Mr. Color GX100. And thank you to Dave Hansen for kind of talking me through this a while back. We're going to use about 40% GX100 and about 60 to plus percent of Mr. Leveling Thinner. Forgive the extra protection on the bench today. Put a t-shirt down just to kind of cover up a little bit more because I'm going to be spraying this without using the spray booth. All right, this is what I keep my Mr. Leveling Thinner in. While I'm doing it, I have, let's see, below that ridge, so the ridge would be that. Okay, cool. So that's about 50%. That's a little bit more. So we went from about here to there. That's definitely a lot more leveling thinner than gloss coat, but we will see what happens. Now, when I spray this, somehow I managed to always get a not gloss coat. So we're going to try it this way. We're going to shake this sucker up. One of the great things about using these, I think I picked these up off of Amazon. If not, shout out to Ryan Fernandez. They may have come from him. These little pop tops, you can just pop it open, pop it closed. Works great. PS274 0.3. And what I should really do is test this out on something. So let's just get a part here we've already used. Boom, our missile racks. And let's go to town. Now I'm probably making this harder for myself by using a double action airbrush. And what I thought to do was use my single action, also Gunzy. Damn it, compressor, you always come on. What I would normally be using is this, the PS265.3, and it's a single action, but I'm using the double action because, well, I'm a glutton for punishment, and in this case, I just wanted to be able to have a little more freedom, I guess. But I would recommend the single action. And then what I'm going to do at the end of this is do a flash coat of Mr. Leveling Thinner. And that should level out anything that's not smooth. All right, you've seen enough. Now we're going to do the tails. And I'm going to do this off camera just to make it easier so I can get close up and see what I'm doing close up. So we'll catch you after the end of this, and hopefully no bad words. Welcome back to the workbench. Last time we were here, we finished all of our gloss coating for our airplane, and time to move on. We're going to do a little bit of detail here. One of the things I noticed is on the real aircraft right here, this is red on these old VX4 airplanes. So to do that, we are going to use our trusty Shadow Hobby thinner line circle cutter. I love this, and huge shout out to my mom. This was an awesome birthday present a couple years ago. Ryan Fernandez suggested getting it, and my mother actually bought it for my birthday. It was one of the coolest things. Yeah, it was super cool. Anyways, I've just been doing this trial and error. You can measure out, you can take your calipers and measure out this thing back here, but I just kind of trial and error it. Put that right on the Tamiya masking tape, cut a circle, and for fun, let's go way over here and do another circle. Now, all we have to do is take our aircraft and tape this on. Make sure we get it right on the panel line. And one thing I noticed when you get really close up to this, and if you look really, really closely at this, this is not, while the panel line itself is a perfect circle, it's not centered to the stab, but that is the way the panel line is. So we've masked a perfect circle for the panel line, and we're going to paint that sucker red. Red is the hardest thing to clean out of the airbrush, but to save myself just a little trouble, I'm going to use MRP Insignia Red. I went ahead and added a little bit more masking to both sides of this just to be safe. I'm using just literally two spoonfuls out of this Tamiya paint mixer in the paint cup, and if you can see in here, that is all I have in there, just a tiny little bit. Let's take this now. I'm just gonna come up real close. There we go, that's one. There we go. Red. Done. Let's do a quick reveal, and voila, there we go. Okay, it turns out there's going to be 2 tips of the day today on this video. The second one, we're going to do what we see here, and that is just forward of the glove vein, fiberglass panel. This was not that common to be seen later on. Certainly when we got to the late A ECM upgrades that were the same on the B and the D, you would see this painted. But this is the old A. This has no bulging ECM spots here. This fiberglass panel, in a lot of cases, was just seen either white or radome tan and unpainted. So we're going to do that today. And to do that, first of all, we mask off the area. But because this very, very forward tip of the glove vein needs to be masked off for gold gray, we're going to take our Infinity Easy Cutting mat and have all these grids here. What we need to do now is measure this front space of the front of the glove vein. We'll get the corresponding piece here. We'll put some tape down and get to work on that. All right, we got this all masked up now. So that is ready to be painted. What I used for the radome was radome tan, MRP. However, I want to give this a little bit different look. So what I'm going to do is grab some SMS tan and desert sage. We're going to blend those two together, kind of 50-50. Just going to nice coat on there. For those of you playing along at home, on the Infinity, it was a 0.7 is what I found that worked the best. And I think that's all we need it to look like, just like that. There is a little bit of difference. It's a little darker. It's just a little bit darker with a touch more brown to it. So I think it'll look great. We'll take these off, move on to the next thing for the day. Here we are at the next step, and we've got the bare metal areas masked off. Over here we have our horizontal tails. So I'm not using a lot of tape on this one, so I do have to be a little bit careful about overspray, but I think it should be okay. We're going to go a little bit close. 15 PSI Alclad flat aluminum, or dull aluminum actually. So I thought this would be kind of fun. You just don't see a lot of the airplanes with the polished metal look. So I am going with dull aluminum. Let's see what we get here. So we're just going to do this nice and light. I'm actually putting this straight over the paint and plastic from before. So we just kind of give it a lot of light coats. A better look at how it's going on. And there we go. It is dull aluminum. We'll let that one dry. All right, we got it layered down, and it looks great. In fact, while we're here, we'll go ahead and start taking off the tape. This will be great. I used fresh tape for all of this, so now I have plenty of tape for my tape graveyard. I like using anodized aluminum from MRP. There you go. It looks like that, MRP 081. It just kind of has this little bit of kind of a warm color to it, just that anodized metal look. But I also really like this dark aluminum, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with dark aluminum, give a layer of that, and then I'm going to come back over with the anodized aluminum. See, they're different, very different looks. That dark aluminum looks cool. In fact, you know what? Actually, I might even skip that. I think what I'm going to use instead is steel. And it's just a lighter color than the dark aluminum. Who knows? We may use all of them. Anyways, I'm going to get that fired up and start painting. After getting myself all worked up for which metal I was going to use, I pulled out steel, titanium, dark aluminum, stainless steel, all of them. And I'm going to go back to the original plan. We're going to use dark aluminum as our first one. We can always put more on afterwards. So let's get a layer going here. And it's best just to come in nice and light on all this and let it build up. The MRP is a lot like, oh my God. Seriously? There's an ice cream truck outside. It's 2 days before Thanksgiving, folks, and the ice cream man is coming by. FYI, with these wings, you need to make sure to sand the seams. There's a little ledge when you put them together, the way that they are molded, and it really will show with using metals at the end. So make sure you sand that seam. I don't really need to use any putty for the seam, but if you just sand it down, it works out just fine. All right, folks, there you go. That is dark aluminum. I know it looks a little different on camera than it does in real life. Looks good in real life. It's a little darker, as the name says, than I'd like it to be. So I'm going to go back over that with the anodized aluminum in a little bit, but for now, dark aluminum, we'll set that aside. All right, we are back with a little bit more anodized aluminum in the 0.3, and I'm actually hitting up all of the surfaces I just did with dull aluminum in kind of a random splotchy add-on. I just like the way that the color gives a little bit of warmth, and yeah, actually it looks pretty cool. So it's already kind of weathering the metal a little bit. Hit the tails already, so let's go. Oh no, that does not have tape on it. We cannot do that. So I'm just kind of giving that, and we're gonna have to put tape back on that one. But if you can see that, it just gives a little bit of warmth, a little bit of kind of a weathering, but it gives a kind of an overall little bit of that anodized look, which is really cool. So hit a little more in there, and we'll see what happens when it dries. We're going to pull the tape off in just a minute and move on to the next thing, because that's what this is about, getting her done. Final evolution of the day here. We're going to use these two paints, MRP's Sabia and Earth Yellow, and I've started masking off here the formation lights, and we're going to paint these instead of use decals. Let's take a look real quick over here. This is what I talk about. This is what I mean when I talk about the tape graveyard. This is where everything I've used tape-wise that's still usable, has some good tact. I have high-tack, low-tack versions. This is all from the wings and the tails, painting the metal, that I will use for additional masking when I don't want to use brand new tape, and or don't need it, or just need large areas masked. So I save a lot of the Tamiya tape. It's not out of frugality. It's actually because I like it after it's been detacked and used once or twice. And then we come over here, and we're going to mask our formation lights. Of course, I could just use my Fighter Town Decals weapon set. And down here we have all kinds of, and this is 4887. This is for Tamiya. We have multiple styles and colors of formation lights. I just happen to like painting them. So what I've done is matched a little bit. This earth yellow kind of matches our darker tone here, and Sabia is a little bit not quite as yellow as the other decal that we use. I have some other options here too. Tamiya's dark yellow 1 and 2 is great, and these two are also some that I use. I also noticed this, when I look at these two paints, I can't tell the difference in these paints really. Maybe a touch darker and oranger on the RLM, but they look the same to me. But that's what we're going to use today. All right, let's get back to masking and painting, and hopefully that will be the last thing today. And this is how it looks after the first coat of paint. We'll spin around and take another look this side. There we go. We're using Sabia on the, actually I used Sabia on both. Now I'm going to take the earth and put it on the back side. So that'll be next. Here's a little tip if you're masking the wings. That's all I do there. And what you can see, this white is, the white is pinstripe tape. It's 1/32. So it doesn't really matter which brand you need. You just need this 1/32 tape, and that's what goes on to the wing. I'll put the tape on the other side. It doesn't have, this stuff that I use doesn't have a lot of adhesion. So once I put it on, I cover it up. Let's see, here we go. I put another piece of tape over it just to help keep it on there. So that's one side. Flip it over here. Nice thing is it's also so thin that it has good amount of ability to curve and stick on. So that is it. And we're going to so I'm just going to tear this off. Looks like the back's good, but I'm just going to put a piece of tape right here just to help hold it down. And the other thing I need to do is make sure that my wings are covered. So let's do that. I will have to be careful up front. I didn't want to affect here the bare metal. I didn't want to have anything that would take adhesion and take that off. So now that that's on there, let's go ahead and grab our paint. I'm doing this real close up, about 10 psi. Now that the painting is done, we get to do the fun part, which is taking off the tape and looking at the success of our paint job. There we go. Well, I like it. Honestly, I think that's a little bit oranger than I would like. Let's take a look at the front fuselage here. Way overmasked for what we did. I mean, you can see that there's barely any overspray, just touches of it here and here, but we were safe and we protected the work. And once that comes up, that is how it looks. Not too bad. Although, again, I think that this is too orange, so I think we're going to retire the earth yellow, and we're going to just stick with Tamiya and maybe something a little bit lighter than that. What I've used before is this one here, Terra d'Ombra, Italian. If we put those next to each other, they're close, but they're a little different. So anyways, that is what we have today. We're going to do a little weathering on that at the end. Not too bad. What I think I need to do, though, in the future is actually make a mask file and have my silhouette cutter just cut this out. So I have one piece of vinyl I lay down. That way I don't have to mask these every time. But there you go, folks. That's that. And I think it's time we call it a day. Peace out. Go model. Have fun. Thanks for watching. Hope you're enjoying it. We'll see what happens tomorrow. We're not quite done for the night. I went back and grabbed some more of the Tamiya paint. I just thought that the earth was too yellow. So here you go. I went over the earth with Tamiya, and that's a little bit different. It's a little bit, well, it shows darker in the video, but it actually is lighter. Let's see if we get a better look at it here. It's actually a little bit lighter and it's a little more yellow. Anyways, it doesn't show up too well in video, but I like the way it looks. I'm going to keep going with that. Look at the last thing we're going to do tonight, and that is this gun vent. And we're going to paint this We're gonna give it a shot with MRP burnt iron metallic. On the real thing, it looks pretty dark. So we're gonna try that out and see what we think. All right, we got a little bit on here already. We're gonna kind of keep going. So this is the first coat. One of the things with this MRP is that it is, if you put this over black, it would be darker. But as it is now, it's kind of a bronzy, it's a burnt metal, but it's kind of bronze-ish, and it's not really what I want to go for. So I'm going to just kind of give it a few more layers. And the silent compressor has kicked on again. That's what we got. We're going to need to put a black wash down there to kind of get the shadows, but there you go. That's it's not bad. I actually like it. But if I look at the pictures of the real thing, it's kind of a darker, sootier, blacker color. So I think what I'm going to do is try a little clear black over this in a few minutes after it dries. And we'll see what we think. Okay, it's bright and early in the morning and it's really cold, but I wanted to come out to the garage and get to work. I got a few hours to try and get as much done as possible. So I'm going to come back to the gun vent, which I just left you with. I used burnt iron, MRP. I debated using burnt iron from Alclad, which looks a lot darker. And in fact, here's a test. This is our burnt iron here, and this is our MRP. So this burnt iron from Alclad looks like much more of what I was going for with this piece. So now the dilemma is, do I use my Alclad and put it over the top of MRP, or do I go for some clear black and see what happens from there? I do have SMS clear black here, and I have the old Tamiya smoke standby. So I'm going to debate those two, throw one on. We're going to see what happens. Good morning, and let's see how much we can get done in the next few hours. All right, let's give this clear black a shot and see what happens. Well, just a little bit on there, and it is it's definitely darker. It just almost looks black, honestly. Let's see what we're gonna do about this. I need to even that out. All right, well, we may just go back and do a different metallic over the top of that, but in the meantime, and pulled out some Alclad magnesium, and this is the result. Still a little dark, but I like it much better. It has more of a metallic look than the clear black. And as you can see here, in the meantime, I've also painted, or masked, the vents on the top. I'm going to just hit this with magnesium as well. And usually I use more of a dark steel or the anodized aluminum, but I thought this would be a nice change. These jets seem to have some pretty dark vent colors, metal colors on them, so just kind of keep light passes. I'm using about 15 psi, just a tiny little bit in the brush. And then I'll black wash the vents afterwards. So that looks pretty good. I dig it. We're going to call it done. We're getting close to decals. Hopefully I can get some in today before I have to leave. So stick around. We'll see what's next.